Hola, ¿qué tal? Buenas tardes, bienvenidos a El Mixer. Soy su host Jacqueline Villalobos y una vez más están conectados a la frecuencia correcta, frecuencia alterna. Son las 7:04 de la tarde aquí desde la bonita ciudad de Phoenix, Arizona. Gracias a ti que te estás uniendo a este programa. Recuerda compartir a través de todas las redes sociales, ya que este programa es un programa informativo para ti, profesionista, emprendedor, creador de productos o servicios y estudiantes, claro, porque esos estudiantes algún día van a llegar a ser grandes empresarios o profesionistas, así que el Mixer te tiene toda la información que necesitas y los tips para que seas exitoso o exitosa. El día de hoy les preparamos un gran programa, ya que les traemos un poquito de diversión, pero a la vez van a conocer a un gran empresario. Ya saben que aquí en el Mixer es un programa que también te conecta con la comunidad y pues aquí en el Mixer nos enfocamos en lo que se dice el networking. ¿Qué mejor manera de hacer networking que conocer nuevas personas a través de las plataformas de Facebook, Instagram, todas las redes sociales que ya manipulan el ámbito de networking, ¿no? Bueno, el día de hoy tengo un gran invitado, nuestro amigo Frankie de Diva Dad. Welcome, Frankie.
Hey, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Y pues antes de comenzar y de conocer un poquito más about Frankie, vamos a comenzar con el día de hoy y por qué el día de hoy es especial y por qué vengo de rosa y por qué tengo bebidas rosas y por qué Frankie viene de rosa también. Dani no me quiso seguir el rollo, pero pues bueno, ya saben cómo es él. El día de hoy es National Pink Shirt Day. No porque sea el día conmemorativo de la película Mean Girls que salió en el 2004, claro que no. Más que nada es el día nacional de la National Pink Shirt Day porque es un día donde hacemos conciencia a los intentos de parar el bullying en las escuelas, en las redes sociales, más que nada, ya que eso es lo que en los últimos años ha subido y la iniciativa empezó en el 2007 de celebrar National Pink Shirt Day, porque National Pink Day es junio 23, así que no se me equivoquen, pero fue porque unos chicos para hacer conciencia y ayudar a un amigo que le estaban haciendo bullying, dijeron, bueno, ¿qué tal si hacemos una protesta y todos nos ponemos una camiseta rosa para hacer una protesta de solidaridad y apoyar a este amigo que estaba en el 9º grado que estaba haciendo bullying, que le estaban dando muchas carrillas. Entonces, pues, toda una comunidad se unió para ponerse las camisas rosas y hacer el Día Nacional para apoyar la causa de el anti-bullying. Sabemos que aunque los niños están en casa, bueno, algunos, porque algunos ya regresaron a la escuela, el bullying es algo muy grave que a muchos papás no nos damos cuenta. Y hay veces que desafortunadamente no sabemos si a nuestro niño le está pasando o si nuestro niño es el bully, porque déjeme decirle que en la casa pueden ser unos y en la escuela pueden ser otros. Así que a veces dice uno, nunca sabe lo que tiene en casa, pero a lo que vamos es que hay que hacer conciencia y hablar con nuestros hijos y tomar días como el día de hoy para que tengamos un mundo más consciente, niños que crezcan más conscientes acerca de cómo ser más bondadosos y mejores personas con las demás, ¿no? La semana pasada se celebró el Día de la Bondad y déjenme decirles que ese es un tema que a mí me interesa mucho porque fíjense que there's so many people out there que dicen, oh, sí, yo soy bien buena persona. But then on the back end, you know, when nobody's looking, they're being like mean.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know, they show on the social media y todo that they're like so nice and they're helping out and, you know, they're giving to the poor. But then it's like on the other end, it's like they're being mean with their family. They're being mean with their kids, with their parents. They don't help out, you know, like, and so there has to be a balance. Tiene que haber un balance. Sí. Because sabemos que también el mes de febrero es un mes donde se celebra el amor. Sí. You know, and so when you celebrate amor, celebras amistad, celebras el Día de la Bondad, pero ¿qué pasa cuando esas acciones a veces también excluyen a las personas y las hacen sentir mal? You know?
Yeah.
I mean...
Right. You don't want to exclude anybody.
Yeah, right, Frankie?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I feel like there's been times, I don't know if you remember cuando en la escuela, there was Valentine's Day, and you would put your little box.
Yep. Yep. And you would hope that everybody would come by and put their Valentines in your little box, and you would just sit there all patient and wait. And if a kid walked by and didn't put it in your box, you were crushed.
Yes. That was a form of bullying.
Yes.
You know, and I can understand why teachers don't want to do it anymore. You know, they're like, no more Valentines in school.
Right.
And
Yes, I know. I understand that too. Now when my kids go, it's like you either bring enough for everybody to get
Yeah.
one, or you don't bring any at all. And we understand that because they don't want anyone to feel singled out, and I think that's great. I
exactly.
think that's a new movement, and I think that's a great way to include everybody and not single anybody out. Even advertising events that we were in the month of February, it wasn't just for couples and just for people in love. It was to love yourself too.
There you go.
You know?
You need to be inclusive
Yeah.
nowadays, porque luego you make people feel bad. And you know what? That's so true. Cuando the Valentine's, you know, it's not all about being a couple. Like, you can
No.
celebrate Valentine's Day by yourself.
Yeah, it starts here in your own heart. If you don't have love for yourself, you are not going to have love for anyone else. You're going to be like those people, like you just said, that they're posting one way where they're like, look at all the good I'm doing. And then on the other side, when the phone's turned off and the camera's turned off, they're not doing any of that work themselves. They're just as depressed. They're just as wrapped up in their misery, but they're trying to show face. And it's like, no, you have to love yourself first.
Exactly. And también hay esas personas, you know, that they're like talking about all this self-love on social media. And like, oh, I just did this for myself, and I just did that for myself, and I'm getting this for myself. But then we never know what the real story is behind that camera, like you said. Sometimes there are people those are the people that are depressed, that are going through so many things that we don't know. Like, you know, we see what they post, but we don't know what they do at home when they're by themselves.
Yeah.
And so important for us to be kind and not to judge a book by its cover. You know?
Yeah.
Si tú ves that, you know, tu mejor amiga or la amiga de tu amiga, porque there's so much like rivalry when you have friends and then they have friends and you're not friends with them, you know, like, have you ever been in that situation where they're like, oh, she's so ugly, oh, she has cellulite, you know, and it's like,
Yeah.
that kind of starts becoming like mean, and eventually it could become also bullying.
Oh yeah, it creates a toxic environment.
Yes.
It takes it from that interactive in person where you're talking behind someone's back to just being you're talking behind them and blocking them and doing other mean things to them.
Oh, for real.
Yeah.
Social media ha traído bullying to another level, because now you just
Yeah.
block people, no? And
Yeah.
you block them from one social media, but then you don't block them from another so they can see all the stuff you're doing.
Yep, exactly. So they just get a little peek, but you don't give them access to anything. It's like a whole new level of bullying, of singling people out and making an exclusive group of like, look what me and my friends are doing and how much fun we're having. And, you know, it's horrible. It's like,
It is. I mean, really, tomen ese día para hablar con sus hijos, con sus amigos, acerca de la importancia to be an anti-bully advocate.
Sí.
So not just put your pink shirt on, not just get your pink drink on,
Right.
but also, you know, put it in practice. Como dice el dicho, a ver,
Practice what you
aplica
preach.
lo que, ajá, sí, no, aplica lo que predicas.
Yes.
There you go. I remembered. Soy como la chimotrufia, se me olvidan los dichos. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's all right. You gotta practice what you preach. You have to lead by example.
Yeah. So, I mean, but talking about, you know, leading by example, I think it's time that we get to know a little bit more about you, Frankie, because let me tell you guys, yo conocí la marca de Divadar porque fui al charro. Ya ven que yo no salgo del charro hipster aquí en Downtown Phoenix. Me encanta su comida y sobre todo las bebidas. El día de hoy tenemos un Rose Lemonade para Frankie. Y pues yo dije, es Pink Day, pues dame una Pink Mimosa. Así que también le estoy compartiendo aquí a mi amigo Dani. So, mientras que nos echamos nuestra bebida, aquí les vamos a dar esta información y vamos a conocer un poco más de Frankie. Pero bueno, con ese saludo para el charro hipster, vamos a ir a una pequeña pausa para que nos tomemos un sip de nuestra bebida y regresamos con más.
Se llegó la hora de comprar tu propia casa. ¿Quieres que te diga cómo? Fácil y rápido. Solo necesitas los siguientes requisitos: 2 años de impuestos, 30 días de talones de cheque, 2 estados de cuenta bancarios, 2 identificaciones y el más importante de todos es perder el miedo y hablarme para una consulta gratis 100 minutos al 602-460-2073. Soy tu amiga Daisy Madrigal, agente de préstamos de casa con Lender Express Mortgage. Llama ya. Se llegó la hora de comprar tu propia casa. ¿Quieres que te diga cómo? Fácil y rápido. Solo necesitas los siguientes requisitos: 2 años de impuestos, 30 días de talones de cheque.
Bueno, ahí lo tienen, escucharon, fácil y rápido. Si casa quieres comprar, a ti Madrigal debes llamar. Recuerden que Daisy tiene muchos años de experiencia y ella no acepta un no como respuesta. Así que si a ti te han dicho que tú no puedes comprar casa por X o Y, llámale a Daisy Madrigal para que tu sueño se haga realidad. Aparte, ahorita recuerden que los intereses todavía están bajos, así que si usted quiere refinanciar su casa, llámele, porque este es el momento. Con un interés del 4%, si usted lo refinancia y baja ese porcentaje, se puede ahorrar de $200 a $500 mensuales, mínimo. Así que definitivamente vale la pena investigar y la consulta no cuesta nada. Llama a Daisy Madrigal. Y ya regresamos, lo prometido es deuda, y vamos a conocer a nuestro amigo Frankie Leiva, dueño y creador de Diva Dad Treats. Welcome.
Gracias. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
We're so happy to have you here, and I'm a big fan of your treats. I started with the chocolate turnovers, and then for the day that we had the tea ceremony at El Charro, I tried the little chocolate truffles that you made, and I mean, I couldn't believe that they were vegan and gluten-free to start off.
Yes.
I mean, I don't have specific dietary needs, but when I can, I try to do like no gluten, no, just try to eat healthy. And so I was like, I'm eating something delicious that's healthy.
I know, right?
That's the biggest thing, that I could do for myself when I'm having a stressful day.
Yeah.
And, just enjoy life more, and it comes with something simple as a treat that's yummy.
Oh, yeah.
How did you start this? I want to know how, because, I mean, your treats don't taste like the typical vegan gluten-free stuff.
Thank you. Yes. And that was my number one goal, was the fact that so I have rheumatoid arthritis, and it's an autoimmune disease. And throughout my life, I've tried different diet restrictions, dietary plans to kind of try to regulate my disease and help with the symptoms and the side effects of certain things. So throughout that time, I've been vegan, I've been vegetarian, I've taken long pauses where I haven't eaten meat or haven't had like the normal diet that we have. And so throughout that time, one of the big things was, my lack of having meals that were sustainable, that felt like they filled me up, those hearty comfort food types of meals. I couldn't find those, when I went to my friends who were vegetarian or who were vegan, or when I went to like a vegan restaurant or something. And so at home, I started creating those type of meals. And on top of it, I have a sweet tooth. I've always had a sweet tooth, a huge one. And I love cookies, I love cakes. And so, again, that need came from my desire, my need for wanting snacks, wanting treats, and wanting to share them with my kids too, even though I was on a vegan or gluten-free or vegetarian diet, I didn't want them to feel like anything was different about how I was eating, so they didn't relate that to, that might be something I might not want to try. So I wanted them to approach the food.
Yeah.
So at first, I didn't even tell anybody in my home that I had switched to vegan and to gluten-free ingredients. All I did was I took some of my recipes that I had been working with, and I found old school recipes that started with basic ingredients. And when you start with basic ingredients, it's really easy to sub out things that you think about. Maybe on the farm, they might not have had this or this. So how did they improvise? What could you use that would substitute for that? So a little creativity and some fun in the kitchen with the kids, and we created some lines, and I tried it out with them first, and they had no idea that they were eating anything that was vegan or gluten-free. And so at that point, I was like, all right. And then I just started providing, snacks at school for them when they had like little parties or potlucks or when it was their birthday parties. And so from then it was just branching out, and then I just more demand, people reaching out to me, and I just started turning my passion into more of a business. And then I took a free business course at my local library, and from there I figured out how I could turn my passion into a legitimate business. And with the help of a business mentor who I'm still working with, and a team of people who are helping me with my business, who believe in what I'm doing and showing me how someone who has no idea what they're doing can turn a concept or their passion into a business. And so it's been a really great journey.
That's awesome. So not only did you turn something that was personal to you, and honestly, it sounds like it's a natural talent for you, like many cooks.
Thanks.
It's not something that you can just, you could go to culinary school for many years, or you can just have that natural talent to be able to put things together, like a good taste for like, this works with that doesn't work with that. Which, I'm the kind of person that I always put together stuff that does not work well together. So I depend on people like you to put stuff yummy in front of me in my face. But you know what? That's really interesting. And I love the fact that you're sharing that you took a business course in your local library.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? Emprendedores, this is what we're talking about when you want to be ready to do a business. You need to go out and you need to go look for legit stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many people out there that will claim to give you like business courses, and they will train you to run your business, and then they scam you out of like $5,000.
Right. Yeah. If they ask for money, it's not real.
Yeah, many times. Yeah, unfortunately, that's the culture that we've come into.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that you were resourceful enough to go to your local library, you found out there was a business course, and you just took it and ran with it, that is very amazing. That's admirable, honestly. And, once again, lo que siempre decimos, you have to have a team. Mm-hmm. And you just said, you have a great team.
Yeah.
I cannot see how even if you're running a small business, you can run without having a team.
No.
So are your kids part of the team?
Yes. Yeah.
That's super amazing. You know what? Because then I'm sure that gives you a lot of work-life balance.
It does. It helps to be able to work at home and bring that balance in where it's not, I don't exclude them from work. I don't have to, because they're part of it. They're part of the creative process. Of course, they're part of the tasting process.
Right.
And my son, who's 12 years old now, he's old enough where he's starting to pick up some of the skills, and I'm training him on how to work some of the recipes and make them on his own. And so, yeah, he's having a lot of fun in the kitchen, and he's getting to create, and he's like, ooh, and when his friends try out his cookies that he makes or something, he gets real proud, which is awesome, because then it motivates him to want to do more. He's like, hey, can we make something that looks like this? And I'm like, yeah, we can make some really cool looking treats. And he's like, oh, neat. And so he gets really into it, which is exciting for me too, because it's just something that I enjoy doing. And the fact that my kids are into something that I'm into, makes me want to geek out even more with them.
Right. And it's interesting because kids can always bring a different perspective into it. Their imagination, for some reason, when you're a kid, is like this big versus like once we grow up, we kind of, I think it's still there, but I think we kind of like hide it a little bit, because we kind of tend to go into more of the realism, like, oh, right, that's not gonna happen, and we like bring ourselves down. We're like, oh, like it could be that way, but I would need this and this. And for a kid, there's no boundaries, there's no limits. That's really awesome.
Yeah, and it's really neat because, again, it's that balance. It's that balance between the active adult life and the seriousness of everything, and then just being able to have fun with it, and just remembering that at the end of the day, it's food.
Right.
You know, it's treats, it's life. It's going to be okay. The next day is going to bring a new adventure, a new things. So for right now, you just enjoy what you can. So yeah, it's just nice and it's fun and it's been a great experience, you know, learning everything and being able to bring it home and work with the family and on it and stuff from the ground up. It's been awesome. So yeah.
Yeah. How did you come up with your name? That's always a struggle for an entrepreneur. And I mean, I gotta say, Diva Dad is pretty brave. I mean,
so the name my family came up with, actually the kids started calling me that in the kitchen. I don't know where they got it from, but apparently I can be a diva sometimes in the kitchen. So my thing is, I've been trained in the kitchen by people that were very old school trained, you know. So you did things a certain way, you were very clean, there was no cross contamination, you were very sterile, very clean, very, you know, conscious of what you were doing.
Right.
And so I'm training them that way. Well, they're kids and they don't get it. And so, you know, they're like, oh my God, okay, I'm sorry, here, I'm washing my hands again. Like, yes, I'm washing, you know, doing this. And so I'm like, yes, you're getting it. And behind my back, they're like, oh my God, he's such a diva. And so they started literally calling me Diva Dad. They're like, okay, here we go, Diva Dad. And so when I was coming up with going through the business course, that was one of the things. He was like, come up with the name. And so I went home and I was like, hey, do you think this name would be a name for a business? And they're like, yep, sounds like you. It's your business. It's your name. That's what you are. So yeah, it's perfect. So I went with it and yeah, that's how it became Diva Dad.
Wow. You know what? You brought up a really interesting a topic too, because when you're dealing with vegan and gluten-free stuff, cross-contamination is like serious. Like,
it is.
You know what? I remember one time when I was an administrator in a school, we would have potlucks for the teachers, like teacher appreciation luncheons. And we always had this one mom that would come in, and she was like hardcore, like, make sure there's no cross-contamination. Make sure, like, everybody would see her walk in the door and like, oh, here comes the gluten-free Nazi. Like, here comes the cross-contamination freak. Like, you know, like, unfortunately, I know we talked about anti-bullying earlier, but they would literally bully her down because she was just so adamant about like the importance of that, you know, if somebody has like a gluten intolerance or like they're like very strict on vegan for whatever reason, that you cannot, like, there's no way you can run the risk of cross-contamination, right?
No, you can't do that. And it's not fair to do that to the public, you know, especially when you're serving food to others. It's one thing when you're just creating things at home for yourself, but when you're creating for others, you have to be very mindful of that. So there's certain things, like in our kitchen, we don't even have nuts because I don't incorporate them in most of my recipes anyways, and just because there's so many people that are highly sensitive to that. So I just, as a precaution, I'm like, we don't need them. So they're not in there. And then when we're dealing with certain recipes, on certain days we bake things, you know, and handle things that are all just vegan. And then on certain things, when it's gluten-free, those things are handled and cleaned different things. So that way there's no contamination of gluten from other products. So we're mindful because people are trusting us to enjoy the products that we're presenting to them. And I want to give as much love as I can through my products to strangers as I do to everybody that I know who I'm giving them to. So
that's
awesome.
Awesome.
It's important to me. So yeah.
That's really great. Now, tell us a little bit about your other business, because who came first, Diva Dad or Biophilia?
So Biophilia and Diva Dad were created around the same time. So originally we had, my partner and I, Jude, we had a yoga studio, and that was called Totem Yoga. Now, when the pandemic hit, we had to shut our doors down. And unfortunately, we almost lost our brick and mortar in our studio. Thankfully, through the business mentor that I met through the business classes and our team that we're working with, we were able to get funding and grants and these loans that came out, and just, we were aligned with the right people at the right time, and it saved our business. At that time, we couldn't reopen. You know, we were a public, almost like a gym. We were a yoga studio. So because of that, we had to restructure and we had to refigure our business model to be able to use our business and make money out of it. So while we were able to still have one business from it, we were able to create and reformulate, and my partner focused on his line of herbal apothecary and developed that because he's an herbalist and he's trained in that, which is awesome. And he's helped me develop medicine for me and my arthritis, you know, combat pain and inflammation and deal with anxiety and depression. And so together we formulated that company, and so that's Biophilia. And so we make tea blends together, and then he, as an herbalist, he formulates and makes herbal tinctures, he makes herbal salves and blends, and then he has a whole line of over 100 different herbs and flowers at the store that he can, so he's got them dried and ready, or he can tincture them up, and in a couple weeks they're ready for you in your own special blend, and you take your medicine as you need.
What is tincture like?
So a tincture is a concentrated liquid that you drink.
Oh, okay.
So it's an herbal tincture, so it's really strong. It's very potent, but they're very helpful. They're very strong. They're powerful medicine.
Yeah.
And you drink them, but you can water it down. Like you can put it in water, you can put it in tea, you can put it in your coffee. Some of them you can put them in hot, some in cold. It just depends on what the herb is. But if you have a good herbalist and someone that you're working with, they'll be able to direct you on how you can intake them and ingest them carefully. And it's it's part of what we offer at our yoga studio now. So when we reopened it, we brought new life into it. We brought plants and wood and wicker and crystals and aromatherapy and flowers and and more of the ceremony back into it. And so when we reopened it as Biophilia Space as well. So carrying that name from the brand into the business model and into our everyday lives is what we've been able to do. And at the same time, I was able to focus on my bake line and my business and develop and launch that at the same time. So,
That's interesting. I thought you probably were just looking for something to water down your cookies with. Because if you're vegan, you can't have your cookies with milk.
Right? Soy milk and cookies, you can kind of trick yourself every now and then, but it's not quite the same. So, and it just worked out, the pairing of the tea with the baked goods, because who doesn't like a nice fancy tea party?
Right.
So you just make yourself a nice intentional custom blended, loose leaf tea, and with it you can pair yourself a snack. Right. And if you're on a specific diet or you just want to treat yourself and feel a little better about what you're ingesting, you can have a gluten-free, a vegan option, and then that way you're treating yourself. Again, it comes back to that self-love, and there's nothing wrong with us treating ourselves on a daily, weekly basis.
Yeah, and that sense of well-being, porque muchas veces, we feel bad, we might have a headache, we might have a tummy ache, and sometimes it's because of the stressors during the day or something that we ate bad, something that we did during our day that it's hurting our body. And so, knowing and going back to the way that grandmas used to do it, or great grandmas, because now grandmas are my age. It's crazy.
Right.
But very true. Going back to the ways that people would do it when there wasn't all this medicine out there. My experience with Biophilia, just so you know, was recently. I mean, I've had the tea at the Charro Hipster where you guys distribute, but my daughter, who's 13, she went with me to a restaurant one day, and pues ustedes saben, a las niñas pues de cierta edad, ya también que son mujercitas, they have their period, and so she was like, Mommy, I don't feel good. It's like, oh, well, let me get you a tea. And so, I went to Francisco, who's at El Charro, he's the expert on drinks, and he's like, amazing. You this is what you have to do for her. And so she tried the Moon Cycle tea.
Yes.
And within 20 minutes, she's like, I feel good. She's like, amazing. I don't feel bad anymore. And I was like, yes, the tea helped,
Yeah.
It was insane. 20 minutes, just like that. And I didn't have to give my 13-year-old Tylenol or ibuprofen, which is just drugs.
Yeah, right. You just gave her some tea that really has no side effects.
Yeah.
And, that's amazing. Yeah, and most of the tea blends that we make, they are medicinal. They do carry qualities to them that way, and they do usually require about 15-20 minutes of activation in your system, and then you really start to feel them. I brought you a tea blend, the one that we did the ceremony with, to try out, and it's our Euphoria blend. It has blue lotus in it. It also has butterfly pea flower in it and some lavender flower in it.
What's special about the blue lotus?
So the blue lotus is very relaxing. It releases a sense of euphoria, so it actually makes you feel really happy. It makes you relaxed and it makes you alert at the same time. So it gives you that sense of peace and calmness, but at the same time, you're just kind of aware and you're just happy. And then with the lavender in there, that also affects you on your nervous level, your nervous system, where it just chills you out. And then the butterfly pea, it's high in antioxidants. So again, they're all just really nourishing for you and your body.
Yeah.
And the purpose of the teas are to stimulate all your senses. They smell nice, they look nice, they taste nice. You can inhale them, you can surround yourself with them in a bath afterwards. You can just, you incorporate all 5 senses when you're using the teas.
Yeah.
And that's how we wanted it to be. That's what makes it a ceremony. It's that special little time, even if it is just the 5 or 7 minutes that it takes to steep the tea.
Yeah.
That 5 or 7 minutes is a lot for some people who never get to take any time out.
That's
And so and then you get a little treat with it if you have that extra minute or two to enjoy one of those, and then it's even better. 10 minutes and you don't think you have that time, and then boom, you just did.
Yeah.
Yeah,
a lot of times it's something that you have to be mindful of. We are so used to being on the go, rush that we put it in our heads that, oh no, I don't have time for that. But how long does it take you to just make a tea in your house versus like driving down to Starbucks or going
Dutch
down
or
to
wherever.
your doctor for your doctor to give you medicine, and then like for you to wait for the pharmacy to let you know, and then it's just the things that we sometimes kind of just take for granted. It's what I think is amazing, and we're definitely bringing more consciousness into our world today, where you're telling me about this tea Euphoria that you guys have formulated in a world where so many people are now struggling with anxiety and like going to sleep at 2-3 in the morning because their whole schedule's thrown off with the pandemic. And so that's really, really interesting. Who would have thought?
Right? Who would have? And again, we never did. We formulated these for needs. The Moon Cycle blend came from after a friend reached out to us, and she was having a really bad time, and she had specific needs that she wanted to address. She wanted to address the cramps, the headaches, the anxiety, the depression that came with it, all of those different things. And so she said, can you help? And we said, we can totally try. And we did. We formulated something, and it came out beautiful, and we're just happy that it helps and it works. And I'm so happy to hear that it worked for your daughter. That's amazing, because that makes me feel so much better, because I have a 9-year-old daughter, and she's right behind where your daughter is now. And I'm already trying to plan and prepare for her, because I'm a boy and I have no idea, but I'm like, I just want to give her a basket and be like, here's everything that I hope.
And don't forget the
help.
chocolate too.
Oh, for sure. I'm gonna give her. She gets a box of chocolates every time.
She's like, these were not good, Dad. I just finished the box. Let's make another batch.
Right. I might have to try that again, and she totally does. It's so awesome.
Wow. We're running out of time, but running 2 businesses, running it out of your home with your children, what advice do you have for those people out there that don't think that's possible?
Yeah, just do it. Just start doing it. Honestly, just start doing it. If you really don't know where to start, you can always reach out. You can find me on Instagram. You can send me a message, and I can help you and put you in contact with the same people that I'm working with, because they love helping people out who are startups, who are thinking about a business, who maybe even just have an idea, and they're like, is this something I could do? They're like, so yeah.
So basically what you're saying is work on your network.
Yes.
So that you can be connected, you have the right connections, you're doing the right things with the support that you need, so you can get rid of all those fears and just do it.
Exactly. Just do it.
We're going to steal that from Nike. Thank you very much. Thank you, Nike.
Right. Put your pink shirt on and do it.
Oh, and put your diva hat on.
That's right.
If you can, right?
Yes.
You know what? It's funny that you use the name diva, because at first that kind of stood out for me, because when I started a Mixer, that was kind of like one of my hashtags, diva. Because I was thinking like it was an acronym for like diversión, información, valor,
Okay.
and like alegría, you know, so like things that I wanted to incorporate into this show. And so I was like, oh, diva, yeah, diva, you know. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a diva. And I think it's so amazing that your kids were so kind to think of the word diva, because they could have thought about the word Nazi, like these moms at the school, you know, were thinking.
No, it was their nice way of calling me something else by saying, you're such a diva.
That's
And I
so
was like,
amazing.
"Yep."
And you know, what's really admirable, you know, to top it off, is that I know that this is going to be a legacy for your kids, because it sounds like they're following your footsteps.
Yeah, they're little entrepreneurs. They have their own business ideas and what they want to do and how they can make money. Yeah, it's a trip watching them and seeing their little brains work that way. So I'm just happy. Like, again, you lead by example. Just what I'm doing is now, you know, leaving a legacy for them to create their own businesses and see the potential of what they are able to do, which is really awesome, that they're capable of anything.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So what is like your vision for Diva Dad and Biophilia in the next couple of years here? What would be something that you would be like, if I could do this, this would be amazing?
Yeah, if I could do a giant event community space where you could offer events, food, interactive art and music, a space where we could bring the whole community together. I would love to be able to do that and to be able to offer food that way too to people. I love to feed people, and to be able to just host large gatherings and events. It's just something that brings me great joy and stuff. So that is something that one of my true visions of Diva Dad is being able to do that.
Wow. That's amazing. I mean, so if we can go to one of those events, hopefully in the next few months, because, you know, things are opening up.
Yeah.
How can we find out about them? How can we get in touch with Diva Dad?
So you can find Diva Dad on Instagram right now under Diva Dad Eats, and then Biophilia Herbals on Instagram and on Facebook. And you can reach out that way, and that's where we promote our events. We have one coming up this Friday called Crystals and Chill. I'll have
Crystals and Chill?
Yeah.
So what is Crystals and Chill?
So I'm going to start off with some of my I'm going to have my vegan truffles there for everyone to sample, and then we're going to bring out some of our lotus flower tea. We're going to bring out some tinctures for everyone to play with and try and kind of mix with their teas. So some kava, some different types of lavender tincture and stuff that you can add into your tea. And then we bring out our whole crystal army that we have there. We grid the whole studio with crystals. We let everyone take a crystal and hold it, grid around them, grid on them. And then everyone gets to lay back and relax. And then my partner and I, we host a 30, last time we jammed out for about 35 minutes with our sound instruments. So we have crystal bowls, we have a gong, a drum, an ocean drum.
Wow.
And then you just zen out and get to chill out.
Have you had anybody that has fallen asleep and just wake
All
up, like
the
you'll have
time.
to like kick them or something?
No, we just let them wake up. Eventually they come to, but we've had some people who have slept the whole time, and that's amazing. I fall asleep during events like that, and I think I take it as honor when someone falls asleep in my event, because that means that you were able to chill out and relax, and that's what you came for. So job done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, before we go on to our next segment, you know, I do want to say, now that you mentioned the whole ceremonies, and I was part of the one that you guys did for Valentine's, and I always have a hard time falling asleep.
Yeah.
But in those, like, I don't know, it was like 20 minutes or 30. I fell asleep, and like I zoned out on a chair. Like, it was not a comfortable chair.
Right.
And like I just zoned out. Like it was out of body. Like I was dead.
And that's amazing, and that's how it should be. So thank you. I'm glad that you felt that.
Yeah, it's amazing, like, once you actually like focus your mind to like relax, what the body can do. Because you can, if you're going to sleep every night thinking, you sleep 5 hours, you wake up unrested, maybe this is something that you need to check out. Because definitely sometimes we just need to learn and be guided into how to quiet our minds.
Yep. How to just chill out a minute. And for those who only speak Spanish or are interested in bilingual, we do bilingual classes too. We have an event coming up March 27th. It's a Saturday night.
Marzo 27, sábado en la noche.
Yeah, es un baño de sonido.
Baño de sonido.
Ajá, baño de sonidos con té de cacao. So we're going to bring in
cacao.
our cacao tea blend. Yeah, it's a heart medicine, and cacao and cacao tea, they're really special for our people. So yeah.
You said heart medicine, like corazón?
Yeah, para tu corazón. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we're going to do some heart chakra work. Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Oh, I'm excited. Looking forward to it. Así que ya saben, sigan a Diva Dad Eats para que sean parte de sus eventos, para que puedan disfrutar de sus ricas recetas, de los treats, y cada vez sacan más cosas.
Yeah.
Porque veo que de repente suben. A mí lo que me falta probar son los tarts, pero espero pronto ordenar para que me lleguen a mi casa. ¿Tienen página de internet?
Not yet, just right now on Instagram.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
working on the webpage very soon.
Yay. Well, we wish you lots of luck.
Thank you
and
very
we
much.
look forward to all the amazingness that you're creating around the valley, not just in like drinks and food, but with the work that you're doing with the ceremonies.
Thank
That in itself is not something that you see every day. No se ve todos los días. Así que, amigos, a seguirlos para que podamos tomar ventaja de esas maneras de cómo relajarnos y cómo ser más lindos con nosotros mismos. Así
Sí.
que, bueno.
Yeah.
Vamos a ir a una pequeña pausa, pero regresamos y antes de despedirnos les voy a contar qué está pasando para el mes de marzo, qué tienen que saber para prepararse, así que no se despegue.
Aldo's Hot Wheels, te estamos esperando. Ya abrimos en Aldo's Hot Wheels. Visítanos con su sana distancia. Disfruta de nuestras alitas picosas, sabrosas. Llévate 50 alitas. Y no cocines. Vive el sabor de Aldo's Hot Wheels y la pasión deportiva con las mejores alitas del West en Phoenix. Ordena al 623-247-7400. Aldo's Hot Wheels.
Hola, ¿qué tal, amigos? Regresamos, estás escuchando el Mixer desde la señal de Frecuencia Alterna Radio. Recuerda seguirnos en todas las plataformas sociales como Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, obviamente Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, todas las que te puedas imaginar, ahí estamos. Así que también recuerda que si tú tienes un teléfono Android, baja la aplicación de Frecuencia Alterna para que nos escuches 24 horas al día, 7 días a la semana. Allí puedes escuchar toda nuestra programación y la mejor música. Así que ya saben. Bueno, antes de despedirnos, les contaba que en el mes de marzo se va a celebrar una cosa muy, muy grande, muy, muy importante, obviamente, porque se trata de las mujeres. Las mujeres se celebran todo el mes de marzo por la historia que han hecho en el mundo. Ya desde que lucharon por sus derechos de votar, por sus derechos de ser más equitativas con los hombres. Todo eso les vamos a traer en el próximo mes y esperamos poder traer a una experta de la Universidad de Mount St. Mary's University de Los Ángeles, California, para que pueda darnos más información acerca de los estudios anuales que se hacen acerca de las mujeres y las niñas en el estado de California, que es uno de los estados más grandes con más gente de los Estados Unidos. Así que no se pierdan esa información este próximo mes y déjenos saber cómo usted piensa celebrar a las mujeres de su vida en el mes de marzo. Ya sabemos que en el mes de febrero la celebraron con rosas, chocolates, una cena, pero ¿cómo usted va a celebrar esas cosas que las mujeres en su vida hacen día a día para traer el pan a la casa, para que puedan ser las mejores mamás para sus hijos? Cuéntenos un poquito acerca de eso a través de las redes sociales. Esperamos que en las próximas semanas de marzo podamos compartir algunas de sus historias y podamos traerles esta gran información. Recuerden que Frecuencia Alterna tiene otros programas y los esperamos aquí la próxima semana en el Mixer a partir de las 7 de la noche. Así que sigan sintonizando, compartan esta transmisión y los esperamos la próxima semana.